Good morning. My name is Phil, and I am the husband of Billy Joe's sister, Angela. I've been asked by Billy Joe to officiate today because it's her belief that I may be the only one who will be able to hold it all together. But having seen what is to be said today, I'm not so sure. I would like to begin by reciting a poem by the Irish-Australian poet Francis Dubin, and adapted for this occasion. It is titled The Quiet Man. And in many ways it reflects my own personal thoughts about Peter gathered over the years. He was not one who yearned for renown, and he never wished to be the toast of the town. The quiet achiever in his quiet way, of himself he never had much to say. The quiet man, he was happy in his life. He took care of his children and his devoted wife. He rose at dawn to go to work every day and was one who earned his every pay. A family man and a gentle soul whose ego was well under control. A good friend to have, those who know him will say, and to help others he often went out of his way. He never did yearn for great wealth and fame, for to him all were equal and all were the same. Thank you all for being here today as we reminisce about the life of Peter Todd, husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, friend. Some of you here today will shortly provide us with your stories and remembrances, but I will begin by reciting the observations of those who were unable to join us today, or those who were given me the privilege of delivering their thoughts that they have so eloquently provided to me. Peter's sister, Sheila, was unable to attend due to her required care for her husband, Fred, back in Nova Scotia, but she has provided this remembrance. When Peter was born, there was no such thing as immediate sibling bonding. Children were not allowed to visit the hospitals until they were 13, and mums and babies stayed in hospital for 5 to 7 days. Those were days. So my brothers and I were brought to the hospital and stood outside my mother's room and viewed our baby brother through her hospital room window. Growing up and being 9 years older, we didn't have a lot in common. I was usually the babysitter. I remember sharing a room with him in his early years before Dad made me a room in the basement. When he married Billy Joe, she became a sister I never had. Now, having moved away and having busy lives, we have not been keeping in touch more often. However, when I would come back to Hamilton, we always made a point of getting together and getting caught up, usually over a cup of tea. We would share our love of golden retrievers and talk about our kids and grandkids with pride. I don't know how it started out or when, but my mom's homemade macaroni became known as Uncle Pete's macaroni because I think I liked it as much as he did, but my kids still refer to it that way. Peter, you will always be or have a special place in my heart, and I hope you have been reunited with Mom and Dad and your dogs. If you ask Peter's firstborn, his daughter Jessie, she would tell you he was witty, patient, and deeply dedicated. And looking around this room, I know now we can all see those exact traits reflecting the life he lived and the people he loved. For Jessie, her father was a man who knew what truly mattered. At the very top of his list were his family, his dogs, and being outside. The great outdoors was his happy place, and some of the absolute happiest memories he shared with his kids were built right there. Camping out under the stars and riding ATVs through the dirt. Jessie felt he valued his loved ones above all else, including his best friend, Mary Peterson, who shared so many of those good times with him. Her dad had a rare and beautiful gift, a willingness to befriend anyone and everyone. It didn't matter if you walked on 2 legs or 4, if you were fur-covered or flesh-covered. He had a place in his heart for you. It's that beautiful trait along with his legendary gardening habits that lives on vividly in her thoughts today. But a great man isn't just defined by the easy sunny days on the campground. He's defined by how he shows up when the storm hits, and he always showed up. Jesse remembers that the truest testament to his love was his unwavering presence. Even at her absolute worst moments, even when things were tense and Mom wouldn't speak to her, Dad was there. No judgment, no conditions. Just a patient, dedicated father standing by his kid when she needed him most. She carries that with her today, hoping to mirror his work ethic and that fierce, unconditional dedication to his own children. He was a deeply devoted family man, but as Jessie noted, he was also incredibly witty. Her dad wasn't above a little bit of brilliant, silent retaliation. She and her siblings always fond to remember those camping trips. Every now and then, after a long night by the campfire, Mom and their close friend Lucy might have had just a few too many fizzy pops. The next morning, bright and early, Dad would be at the camp stove cooking up breakfast, and without fail, he would crank up Kim Mitchell's "I Am a Wild Party" in full blast. Kids would look at him, dancing around the bacon, and they would think, damn, Dad is in a great mood today. Little did they know he was executing a flawless, high-volume revenge plot on their mother's home. For his son Josh, he's remembered as a calm, focused, and caring man. The happiest moments that Josh will not forget will be their road trips to different baseball games and their quiet game of horseshoes in the yard with a fire going and the Jays game on the radio. He pushed Josh to do the small things that would improve his life, that would add up over time, and always give him advice on how best to do those things. Josh likes to think he has those same qualities, the same quiet calmness that Peter always exuded, sitting in the yard quietly with the dogs, just to enjoy their company and the peace and quiet around him. For Josh, his dad always put family first, asking about how their day was and how the other people close to him were. He loved to have a house project on the go, and of course, always be surrounded by his loyal dogs. He will always fondly remember his dad's greeting of Joe before asking what was up or how things were, or his dad walking around with the classics rock as loud as he could get it, or hearing the kettle boiling and knowing Dad was around. That was him, patient enough to handle the tough times, dedicated enough to always show up, and just witty enough to keep everyone laughing when they least expected it. For family and friends, Peter's wry sense of humor, his big heart, and his open arms will be missed. But as we look at his children and grandchildren, and the lives he touched, we know that his dedication, his work ethic, and his wild, welcoming spirit will be with us forever. I would like to now call on Peter's older brother, Michael, to come up and to say a few words.
Hopefully you can bear with me. It's a little easier doing this at home than it will be here. When I was asked to speak with you all this morning, I was honored and kind of nervous because how could I say anything better than the narrative that was written for the obituary card? What a great job they did portraying who Peter really is. Growing up, Peter was always interesting. Dennis and I were pretty active in athletics, playing baseball, hockey, and pretty much anything else we could. Pete was not really too interested. It just wasn't really his thing. But he always found a way to participate. We had some pretty organized hockey games in the backyard where we would flood the rink. And Peter did play, but again, it just really wasn't his thing. He was actually more interested in building the rink than playing. I do remember did try to play goalie a little bit, but he wasn't too appreciative when we were shooting pucks at him. And especially with the equipment we had back then, you can imagine it wasn't much like today. One thing he did do though, was he would always take the position of referee. So there we were in the yard, 8, 10 kids, and Peter in the center, but quiet and reserved. And I'm sure you can understand how fitting that would be. One thing that remained constant the whole time we were growing up, Pete was always our fixer. You get into trouble, and Pete could always help us out of it. Don't get me wrong, he had his moments, but that's another place and time. When things broke, he would fix it. Our father, not exactly the most mechanically inclined, and he rarely even tried. Where Peter learned to do everything he could on his own. I don't really know how he managed, but it started with bicycles, backyard projects, and it switched to cars and home renovations. He had more talent in his baby finger than the rest of the family combined. He developed a real knack for getting some great fixer-up cars over the years. He would scour the ads in the internet, and of course it was nothing like it is today. Find a vehicle he thought would work, and then drive who knows how far to get it for a great price. Fix it up, sometimes for himself, sometimes for the family, sometimes for his friends. And I'm sure he's hooked up a lot more people in this room than I even know. That's Pete. Biggest asset. At the drop of the hat, he would stop whatever he was doing and help whoever asked, anytime, any day. He's the most loyal, honest, and genuine person I know. As a father, he did everything he could for his kids. And well, you guys sure tested him at times. But again, loyal, honest, and genuine, that was Pete. He's so proud of each and every one. As a husband, Billy Joe have to have a relationship we all want to have. Looking from the outside and from a distance, I was always in awe at how they made it work. Both our mother and Billy Joe's mother presented them with some difficult issues near the end. They just shrugged it off and moved forward. Looking at the wonderful pictures on the wall last night, it's easy to see what I would call the perfect family relationship. And as the older brother, I could not be prouder of everything Pete represented in his life. So to finish this off, our world lost a real hero today, completely devoted to his family, his friends, and his dogs alike. Kindness was a way of life for Peter, and everything he did. He didn't always know what he was thinking, and most of the time he didn't say much. But as the saying goes, when Peter talked, people listened. I say this for Sheila, Dennis, and I. We're very proud to call him family friend and brother, a great husband, a great father, a great grandfather, a great godfather. We all lost a hero today. As hard it is to deal with it right now, we should all be blessed to have had to share him in our lives. I'm sure our mother, our father, his mother-in-law are waiting there with open arms when he left us this week. And he will be waiting for each and every one of us when our time comes. But for now, for today, we need to celebrate and cherish the time we had with him in all of our lives. Few people have ever impacted as many lives as your husband, your father, your grandfather, your uncle, the dog's father, and our brother, our hero, Peter John Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Peter and Billy Joe's first grandchild is Hannah, and I know that she would like to provide her thoughts about her father.
much he loved his furry best friends, and we promised to keep spoiling them the way he did. He truly was the best man I've ever known. Papa, I'll use all that you taught me to make you proud, but of course I'll continue to bug Grandma.
Before Peter's son Chris completes the proceedings, if anyone would like to step forward and provide some brief words, now is the time to do so. At this time then, I would like to ask Chris to come forward to express his thoughts about his dad.
Here are some things my dad taught me. Give space. When avoiding an obstacle while driving, miss it by a foot, not by an inch. If you're sore, you can leave it and let somebody else return your shopping cart. People grow. How to cast a fishing line. How to be a dad. How to show up for the people you love. And that sometimes the fiercest love is very, very quiet.